Soreness after is not the best measurement for a successful stretch. Does a change of joint range of motion is sufficient that you are dramatically progressing? Urgency to aggressively elongate soft tissue happens only during clinical setting, and most commonly are requirements for a competitive flexibility sports. From a speedy restoration of range of motion and to a transformation requirement, which is a process of going beyond your functional flexibility, such as a full split in gymnastics, this is not under the game of self-preservation topic and objective of this channel. Common stretching mistakes. During the year 1968 to 1970s, I was around 1 to 3 years old. Bruce Lee popularized martial arts that influenced a lot of people like me to stretch the way Bruce does. And I also follows other famous fighter, their so-called secret flexibility training. Because of me, it is not a secret anymore. Of course, I was old enough then to have that wannabe attitude. At the same time, yoga type of stretch follows to spread among celebrities and in fitness world. In the end, many people have learned to stretch the either way, bouncing like a ball during a toe touch, and more bouncing while stretching their hamstring, as they say. Then the most common type of all, holding the stretch till they feel numb and presume it's good for them as they get used to it. Or they tremble, wince, grimace while in the process of holding the stretch for as long as they can. No pain, no gain attitude till they drop, with a positive, hopeful, debilitating soreness as expected the next day. Maybe you have done this yourself. You watch other people stretch in the gym or in the park and try to copy what you see. But does this type of stretch really reduce the sensitivity of your natural reflex mechanism, or more or less avoid disrupting your stretching routine? Here are some of the most common mistakes made while stretching. Bouncing. Unless you are a competitive martial art practitioner, then this might probably be a significant part of your training, like snapping kick, for example. But I might gear to a flight of ideas if we start talking about this. Our main focus is at healthy level and self-preservation approach. It is not a good idea to mix the beast mode to your balance without hurting yourself. High-level competition have a very extreme and complex approach. Totally a different goal to reach, and most of all, a beast mode mindset, not a healthy one. Meanwhile, bouncing activates and stimulates stretch reflex. You couldn't bounce without applying speed, which your muscle spindle will detect. Remember, velocity is another trigger. Most stretch bouncers have unstoppable temptation to bounce further and beyond and harder. I suppose a hard habit to break for old folks especially. This will obviously switch on the sensitivity of muscle spindle or stretch reflex. Remember, the other trigger again, length. Repeated and progressive bouncing will not help you, since this will just produce equal intensity of counter resistance from your stretch reflex, leading to premature soft tissue damage and, knock on wood, maybe an unexpected injury. Unproductively unhealthy to be used generally. Second, holding the stretch too long. Let me ask you, generally speaking, when you hold the stretch, is it really a nice feeling? Especially for beginners who never like stretch. Majority who need stretch are these people who are actually just aiming for health as an objective. When you hold the stretch, it is actually irritating and uncomfortable. Do you agree? Calling YouTuber creator who never stretch. Try stretching right now. Stand up and stretch your hamstring. And hold that stretch for 20 to 30 seconds or maybe 1 minute. And leave a comment in the section below. And tell me honestly, does it really feel good? In fact, it's uncomfortable, which is a reason that you don't do it. Because you thought there is no other stretch option. Does it make you smile as you tolerate the build-up process of stretch irritation on your hamstring? How about upon releasing and coming out from the long hold of stretch? Are you still smiling? To continue, a proper stretch should feel irritating at some level and challenging, but should be tolerable enough to be effective and enough for you to keep a smile. And this level, you are properly challenging yourself and really applying an effective stretch. But as you hold the stretch longer, the sensation become unacceptable and not enjoyable experience. That sensation commonly escalate. You are gradually bringing yourself at the level of discomfort and tolerable pain, a very thin line. That discomfort brought about by the stretch irritation leads to muscle tension that usually start in the neck. Then the familiar facial expression of the agony of defeat appears. That muscle tension travel throughout the whole body that in return influence a build-up of stretch reflex sensitivity automatically. This is pretty common with people who are beginners with below ideal range of motion. Any discomfort influence your physical state. Holding a stretch gradually affects the circulation on the area involved, resulting to another compromised issue, leading to a feeling of sluggish blood flow. Getting numb is an irritating sensation. Watch and review my How Long Do You Hold the Stretch video to understand a simple common sense event that is happening under your nose when you hold the stretch longer. Using this long hold stretching approach to people who are already adapted to holding their stretch is beyond our topic. People like you seeking for an edge to optimize work time together with overall health to move with ease does not really require an aggressive stretch tool, but rather a tool that is effective and less harmful. And remember this, soreness after is not the best measurement for a successful stretch. Does a change of joint range of motion is sufficient that you are dramatically progressing? Lastly, pushing the stretch too hard. The temptation to continue stretching further in a linear fashion is common when you hold the stretch too long. Newbies are less informed about the whole stretch experience in order for you to be safe compared to a professional athletes. In addition, general public still think that stretching training approach are all alike. Stretch reflex sensitivity to producing length too early, too soon, with speed excluded, serve as switch to resist progressively as length tension increases. Consider adaptation and recovery to any training that you want to progress and attain. Rushing through your stretch workout is like expecting an immediate change to the stretch stress force you are applying. A good example, your foot calluses took weeks to adapt properly and recover. Calluses protects you and not to upset and hurt you. Forcing yourself to wear a tight shoes leaves you with a blister sooner in the end of the day. You wouldn't want a blister, right? Even tiny blister is annoying and painful, and could even be debilitating. Overstretching yourself by pushing too hard on your stretch can produce more soreness afterwards. Same effect from holding a stretch for too long. The worst outcome is a soft tissue damage. Apparently, not what you want when you are in a game of self-preservation.